I often think when we're in here that there's obviously a disconnect between what we actually hear in here and what people experience on the ground. Because the reason I raise this point is that a number of people, not only in my own constituency but throughout the country, have raised the difficulty that they are having accessing after schools, particularly where parents are unemployed or they might be stay-at-home parents. They could possibly fall into a vulnerable category, not vulnerable enough maybe to come to the attention of TUSLA. And I think this can sometimes be where the breakdown is, because I know you mentioned the sponsorship programme, but under the new system, the HSE can only refer under fours, which obviously rules out the whole after-schools situation. And a lot of people, if they think that they might have to go to TUSLA first for assistance or additional help, they'll run a mile because they're afraid of that system, and they're afraid that somehow they're going to be highlighted to be a bad parent or something, when that totally might not be the case. But there's definitely a disconnect between what you're saying and what people are experiencing on the ground. Thanks, Ceann Comhairle.
Thanks, Deputy. And look, I've engaged quite extensively with your colleague, Deputy O'Murrochú, on this particular issue. I suppose this is a new scheme, and this is year one, and we're in the middle of a pandemic. So the manner of informing both the sponsorship bodies of their, I suppose, their obligations, and of letting parents know about what's available, it hasn't worked like it should have. And look, I fully accept that, and that's why we've been engaging with the sponsorship bodies, particularly about what they can offer. And just as regards TUSLA, there's a range, and TUSLA can be a sponsor for any child up to the age of 17, and there's a whole range of criteria that TUSLA can apply. And look, I take your point about, you know, some element of concern about engaging with TUSLA, but any child known or connected with the child protection system from level 2 onwards, so not a high level of issues, just maybe some difficulties that that family has, that child can avail of the sponsorship arrangement.
Minister, Deputy Funchion.
Thanks. Minister, are you saying that you're open to review or to take some kind of consultations or submissions, particularly in relation to this, because it is, you know, definitely coming up, but not just one or two people with the issue. Like, parents have contacted, I know we're in the COVID situation, but people have also, some after schools have closed. Now that's for a variance of reasons, but there is definitely an issue around funding and after schools, and I would appreciate if you'd look at it. And the final point I want to raise, and it's not in fairness in relation to this question, but I just can't let it pass that we're a week after the budget, and the disappointment that the early years sector, those working in the sector, those trying to keep the creche doors open, and parents felt totally forgotten about in the budget. Now I know you will say that you want to do a review, but really there is so many people kind of cut out of the workforce due to the cost of childcare, and those working in the sector certainly aren't benefiting from the high fees. Their wages are very low, and I really feel that there was a lot of anger and a lot of hurt from people who are providing the service, from people who are working, and from parents. They really did feel forgotten about in the budget. And I just want to take the opportunity to raise that with you. Thanks, Ceann Comhairle.
Thanks, Deputy. And look, I think I'll be able to address some of those in later questions from yourself and other deputies. I think, look, I'm always open to the review and to examining particularly new structures to make sure they operate as effectively as possible. And that's why, as I said, I've had extensive engagement with Deputy O'Murrochú and other deputies on this point. I do think a significant part of the issue is the newness of the scheme and the lack of information that's out there at the moment. But look, where you encounter services, and you mentioned services have closed, obviously we have the sustainability funds there, and that should be there to support those services if it's a sustainability issue caused by this particular issue. And finally, to say, as regards the expert funding model review, which is ongoing at the moment, one of the issues they are looking at is how do we direct streams of funding to areas of disadvantage, kind of a DESH type model for childcare, and that's part of their considerations, and I think going forward that will be really important as well.
Thank you, Minister.